I'm not one of the determinists like some of those other guys like Chris State. And so I'm not one of those.
Well,
Do
good for
you
him.
believe the T of tulip? Do you believe the T of tulip? Yes, he believes the T of tulip, which means what? You are born by nature, by default, pre-programmed to believe lies, as John MacArthur put it. You are born by default, repulsed to the gospel. Whose fault is that? You didn't do it. Oh, it's Adam's fault. He's a representative. Okay, who decreed him to do that? Who determined Adam to do that? Because I guarantee you, talk to Chris, he will say God decreed the fall just as much so as he decreed my choice to reject or accept the gospel. And so when Calvinists attempt to try to say that the woman's repulsion, i.e. people's natural repulsion to the God in the gospel, isn't caused by God, that's just left to their natural condition. What's natural? We don't believe in Mother Nature here, folks. What's the natural condition? It's the condition God decreed it to be in eternity past.
I thought at first maybe that he's talking about some Umraldians, or however you say it, some people who affirm some points of the tulip and don't others, and it causes them to be inconsistent. I thought that's what he was talking about here. And if that guy is an Umraldian, then maybe I've just misjudged the whole thing. But after listening to what he said, it doesn't sound like they're actually being inconsistent. It just sounds to me like he doesn't understand the proper distinctions as usual. What he says there is they're saying, yeah, no, God's not causing them to be at enmity with him. He's not causing them to hate the right doctrines, right? What's presented in the Bible. He's not causing them to naturally hate those things. Or rather, he's not causing them to hate those things, including himself. That's just the natural way of things. That is their nature, right? And he says his argument with that is we don't believe in Mother Nature, right? We don't believe in nature being the force that presents reality as what it is. However, that's a straw man argument, as usual, because we don't believe anything like that. The universe that God has created has a natural order. In physics, biology, all of our research clearly indicates this, right? It reproduces itself. Everything does. Everything that is alive does, at least. It reproduces itself just like humans. It may look a little different, but everything is an organic process. Now, to believe that you have a creator does not mean to believe that God inorganically formed you out of clay and put you onto the earth. God only did that with Adam. Everyone after that comes from Adam, right? And so Eve is taken from his flesh before the fall. Everyone else is created by an organic process of sexual reproduction. And in that process, because of who their parents are genetically, they are conceived in sin spiritually, which causes them to be born with a heart that is desperately wicked and deceitful above all things. So this is the nature of humanity, and it's guided by God, but it's produced organically, right? So they're not being inconsistent. They're just hanging on to the organic nature of it. And the idea that it's being guided by God, that doesn't contradict the fact that he's created an organic universe.
It's just as much under control of God as it is your new nature. Your old nature from birth is just as much in God's control as is your new nature on Calvinism, because it's exhaustive. That's why the word exhaustive is so vital, because you're saying you've got to be consistent, folks. Everything you say has to be included within that divine decree. And Chris, God bless him, is one of the more consistent Calvinists. In doing so, I think he acknowledges the exhaustive nature of that, and I appreciate that, because I think then it becomes easier to rationally have conversations when it comes to these issues, and to point out the flaw of them. And so I'm just reaching out to some of my lower Calvinist friends.
A laser.
Even 3-point Calvinist. If you affirm the T of tulip as Calvinists teach it, and Jonathan Edwards and Calvin himself taught it, and you affirm irresistible grace, the I, then you are, for all practical purposes, a soteriological theistic determinist, in the sense that even if you don't want to include all the exhaustive aspects of it, who cares about the color of t-shirt you're wearing when every moral choice you are making is determined to be under the T, the inability condition that God decreed you to have, or under the new condition God decreed you to have.
I agree with what he said here. These so-called Calvinists who only want to take, they want to have their cake, their autonomy cake in tulip somehow and eat it too. You know what I mean? They're not really reformed. They're not actually Calvinists. They're just wearing a Calvinist t-shirt, like he said, and they either need to get in the boat or they need to get out the boat. You know what I mean? And I'm coming with you. You can't swim. Unfortunately, in their kind of theology, even worse than provisionism, they've got one foot on a banana peel at all times. But we'll go ahead.
And then you have to deal with, okay, now that you have choice as a regenerate man, when you choose to sin or lie, or
that I actually agreed with when I was listening to it the first time through as well. Like, first off, if you're a 3-point Calvinist, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Like, I can actually see, logically speaking, not biblically speaking, being a 4-point Calvinist. Like, I actually know how that would work systematically and logically, although biblically it doesn't work. But 3-point just makes absolutely zero sense logically, systematically, biblically, whatever. But he's right. If you affirm the T and you affirm the I, then you are a soteriological determinist. And I have no problem with that. And I'm very happy about that, because if it was up to me, I would go to hell. If it was ever up to me, I would go to hell. If I had to put in any percent, even a fraction of a percent, I would go to hell. But I can trust in God, who is revealed in the scriptures that he is good, that he is loving, and he is merciful. And I can trust in him to work, to begin a good work in me and to finish it.
Yeah, Jesus says, unless your righteousness exceeds that of the Pharisees, how do you end it? You can't enter the kingdom of heaven. I can't remember exactly the end of it there. But,
yeah, something like that, yeah.
And I know, I mean, look at the Pharisees, man. Those are some whitewashed tombs, man. I'm not anywhere close to that level of righteousness. I'll never be more righteous than a Pharisee. The only hope I have is for Christ's righteousness to be imputed to me. That's the only way I'll ever exceed the righteousness of the Pharisees.
Amen.